Chapter 8, Marketing Research from Customer Insights to Actions. This presentation will be broken up into two parts, Part A and Part B. Both of them will focus on Learning Objective 4, which is to discuss the uses of observations, questionnaires, panels, experiments, and newer data collection methods as they apply to the market research process. What will be discussed in this presentation, Learning Objective 4A, and the next presentation, Learning Objective 4B, focuses on Step 3 of the marketing research process. In the previous presentation, we discussed obtaining secondary data. This presentation and 4B focus on primary data as it applies to the market research process. The previous presentation defined what primary data is, and just as a review, primary data are the facts and figures that are newly collected for a market research process or project. And there are two ways to collect newer primary data for a marketing study. Those two ways are either by watching people or asking them questions. So first we're going to focus on the watching people piece of collecting primary data, and that is called observational data. Observational data are the facts and figures that are obtained by watching how people actually behave. And the way they collect observational data is by using mechanical, personal, and neuromarketing methods. So first we'll talk about the mechanical methods. Mechanical methods, it kind of is what it sounds. They use mechanical means like technology or a scanning system to gather the data that they're looking for. An example of this would be the way that Nielsen Media Research collects data. Nielsen Media Research is a company that gathers information on TV ratings, and they use this thing called a people meter, and this is how they gather their mechanical data. So what they do is they connect a box that's provided by Nielsen Media Research to TV sets, DVR cable boxes, satellite dishes, and any other type of equipment that goes with television in over 9,000 homes across the country. And then what happens is there's a remote that is pressed when the viewer begins and finishes watching a television program. Once the individual finishes watching the television program, the box stores the data and then transmits all that viewing data every single night to the Nielsen Media Research Company so that they can process the information. Data is also collected using less sophisticated meters or things they call TV diaries, which is like a paper and pencil measurement system, which relies on people recording what they're watching and then sending it into Nielsen. But by using the boxes that attach to the DVD players and the televisions, they are automatically transmitting this mechanical data, or this mechanical observational data at the end of each day. And what Nielsen did is they recently implemented a new measurement program called the Anytime, Anywhere Media Measurement Initiative, also called A2M2. The purpose of A2M2 is to follow the video of 21st century viewers. New people meter technology will measure all types of TV viewing behavior from a variety of devices and sources. So they monitor digital video recorders or DVRs, VODs or video on demand, internet delivered TV shows on computers through things like iTunes, mobile media devices, so they're monitoring mobile phones and iPods, etc. They look at streaming media, and they also measure information outside the home in fitness clubs and airports and things like that, and anywhere else they are collecting data. So on the basis of all the observational data that they collect, Nielsen then calculates a rating and a share of each TV program. So how many people are watching the TV program, what percentage is being watched, how are the ratings changing. But the TV advertisers today have a special problem with about 3 out of 4 TV viewers skipping ads with a DVR or TiVo or even channel surfing during commercials. They don't know how many people are actually, seeing TV advertisements. So that poses a problem for advertisers because there's issues with how many people are actually seeing the ads. Nielsen Media Research and Media Check offer advertisers minute-by-minute measurements of how many viewers stay tuned during TV ads so they can see how many people are actually watching their advertisements. And last but not least, Nielsen also tracks online ratings. And to do this, they use an electronic meter installed on computers of panels to record internet user behavior by tracking mouse clicks. So those are just a couple of examples of how observational data can be collected using a mechanical method. Other observational data methods focus on personal methods. And basically what they're doing here is they're collecting observational data while watching consumers in person and videotaping them. And there's really three specific ways or three specific methods that they use under the personal methods to gather this data. First are mystery shoppers. Mystery shoppers pose as customers and they observe behaviors. So they could hire a mystery shopper to go into a store, observe the cleanliness of the store, the friendliness of the staff, how neat the store is, et cetera, whatever they're looking to achieve. And what they do is these customers that are going in and observing behaviors, they're paid by firms. And they're checking on the quality of pricing of the products, the integrity of the customer service the employees provide, and things like that. Mystery shoppers provide clients with unique marketing research information that can be obtained in no other way because it's personal, it's seen firsthand, and then they record the survey based on their experiences. They do have two other observational approaches, which are watching consumers in person and recording consumers with video cameras. So they can videotape what individuals are doing in order to gather their research. Of course, they would need consent from the individual to videotape. But they also use this process called ethnographic research. And this is a very specialized form of observational research, and it occurs when trained observers seek to discover subtle emotional reactions. Like, for example, what they would do is they would watch consumers as they encounter products in their natural use environment. So they're not mystery shopping, they're not videotaping someone, they're actually watching people in their natural environment, like in their homes, in their cars, and things like that to gather the data that they need, to see how people are using the products, how they react to the products, any issues they may have with the products, and so on and so forth. Personal observation has advantages and disadvantages. First, it's very useful and flexible because they have a lot of different options, but it can be costly and unreliable when different observers report different conclusions in watching the same event. So you could have two people watching the same event that come up with completely different conclusions, and that can pose a problem for marketing research. Personal observation can also reveal what people do. It can reveal what people do, but it can't easily determine why they do it, which could be a missing piece to the market research process. The second way that researchers can collect primary data is by asking people. Most people at some point have filled out some kind of questionnaire or received a telephone call or an email to get their opinions about a particular product, service, or idea. The way they ask people, or they use a questioning method called a questionnaire, and which results in valuable questionnaire data, which are facts and figures that are obtained by asking people about their attitudes, awareness, intentions, and behaviors. And they use typically two questioning techniques. They use idea generation methods and idea evaluation methods. So we're going to first look at the idea generation methods, which basically are methods that help them come up with ideas. So the first idea generation method is individual interviews, and the individual interviews are just about how they sound. It involves a single researcher asking questions of one respondent. It has the advantage of giving the researcher the ability to probe for additional ideas and use follow-up questions to a respondent's initial answers, but the biggest challenge with this is it's very expensive, okay, not only in time, but in money. Another method that sometimes researchers use for idea generation are depth interviews. And these are a special kind of interview because the researcher asks very lengthy, free-flowing questions to probe for underlying ideas and feelings of the respondent. So it takes more time, it's a more lengthy process, which can provide a wealth of information for the researcher, but can also be extremely expensive. Another idea generation method that researchers can use to gather information are by using focus groups. Focus groups are informal sessions of 6 to 10 past, present, or prospective customers
And in a focus group, what happens is the discussion leader or moderator asks opinions of the individuals in the focus group about, the firm and its competitors' products, how they use them, and any special needs that they may not address. Typically, focus groups are video recorded and conducted in special rooms with a one-way mirror so that marketers can hear and watch consumers' reactions so that they really can get a better idea of, how the consumer feels about what they're questioning them on. Focus groups can be very effective in uncovering ideas that are often difficult to obtain with individual interviews, um, because within the focus group, they are, the individuals in the focus group are talking to each other. They might get into conversation. There's peer interaction of the members. So the market researchers are more likely to get the information they need from a focus group than just asking one person individually. In addition, another idea generation method that can be used is these fuzzy front-end methods that they've started to use. And basically, these are attempts to identify consumer tastes and trends, and they're used by consumer product firms to find new product ideas. So there's an example video that I've attached on the wiki page above the presentations. Um, that focuses on trend hunting. And trend hunters identify emerging shifts in social behavior, which are driven by changes in pop culture that can lead to new products. They sometimes call them trend hunters or cool hunters. And I encourage you to take a few minutes and watch that video so you can learn more about what trend hunting actually is. The next method in conducting primary data or collecting primary data by asking people are using idea evaluation methods in which they're actually testing an idea. So in idea evaluation, the marketing researcher tests ideas to help the marketing manager recommend marketing actions. Remember, these are all leading to actions of some sort. Idea evaluation often involves using conventional questionnaire formats like personal interview, mail surveys, telephone surveys, fax surveys, online email and internet surveys, and then mall intercept interviews. These surveys are administered to a large sample of past, present, or prospective customers. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview of each of these idea evaluation methods. Um, with the survey types and trade-offs with personal interview surveys, they're asking people in person questions. Personal interviews are flexible in asking probing questions or getting reactions to visual materials, um, but personal interviews are very costly to conduct. Mail surveys, on the other hand, are easy to conduct. They're relatively inexpensive, but they're usually biased because the people most likely to respond have had especially positive or negative experiences with the product or the brand, so they're missing those people in the middle. With telephone interviews, they allow for flexibility. They're very efficient if they're computer assisted, if they're using computer assisted telephone interviewing. But telephone interviews can generate biased results because respondents are likely to hang up on the interviewer due to a perceived intrusion. So it's like one of those things: a telemarketer calls the house or calls your cell phone, you're in the middle of something, you hang up on them, you don't want to answer their questions. So there's some issues with that. Um, Online surveys have been something that have been more common in recent years, and online surveys can consist of both email and internet surveys. Increasingly, many organizations are using this method to have consumers assess their products and services, and they're doing this because most consumers have an internet connection and an email account with an address. With specific regard to the email surveys, what marketers do is they embed a survey in an email sent to a targeted respondents, just like I embed your quizzes and your videos in the wiki. When individuals open the email, consumers can see the survey directly or click on a link to access it from a website. The disadvantages of email surveys are that some consumers view email surveys as junk or spam, so they'll delete them and they won't even look at them. They may choose not to receive them if they use a spam blocker, or they may purposely or inadvertently delete them unopened, which means they're not taking the survey. With internet surveys, most consumers have access to the internet at home or work, so that makes it convenient. Marketers can ask consumers to complete a pop-up survey in a separate window when they access an organization's website, so it's automatic. What you might see when you log on a website is a box pops up that asks you if you'd be willing to take a survey at that point or at the end of your visit on the website. Marketers use this method